Something big is brewing in Montreal right now as the Habs cap space is looking to be weaponized coming up to this upcoming offseason as the youngest team in the NHL is fresh off a playoff appearance, tied for third in the NHL in total points, yet there is still this one aspect that completely changes how this team will look in the future, and even some big outlets are discussing it. We got to get into all the Habs cap space stuff and how Patrick Laine is pretty deeply involved, but also there have been a lot of questions about the fourth line and one player in particular and how he could very well be coming out of the lineup with a couple of very intriguing candidates from Laval making a case to jump up to the main squad. That plus some Noah Dobson statistics and a look at the upcoming schedule, all that coming up today. Jesse, no, the Montreal Canadiens hype has been rolling league-wide. Everyone is giving praise to the Montreal Canadiens, left, right, and center, all kinds of different teams, different announcers, different outlets. It feels weird but great at the same time. And again, with even some trade talks brewing, one we're going to get into a little bit later from Chris Johnston, and it feels like people can't keep the Habs out of their mouths, and this time for some of the best possible reasons.
And we're still just getting used to it, Josh, all this newfound attention, because really, like, if we go back to this time last year, and I know we don't want to kind of think about how rough the beginning of last year was. I know we were able to make it in the playoffs, right? But like the beginning of last year, tough sledding, bottom of the league, right? This time last year. Now we're flashing forward to this time, now tied for third in the league in terms of points here. So much to be excited about. Obviously, the trade market is starting to heat up. We're hearing rumors cook as teams are kind of getting a little bit settled. They're realizing what they need. Obviously, a lot of parity there as well. A lot of teams feeling like they have a chance. So really excited to break this all down today and what this all means for the Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, it's so exciting. Thank you, everyone that's in here. We had Violet. We had so many people here early. Violet, we got JJJ, we got McKnight Blade, we got Rays, and
What's up, Violet?
Channel members. And we got moderator G.I. Joe. Welcome to another Monday Night Hab Talk. Smash that like for the hottest team in years. Absolutely. We got Hack Dog channel member. We got so many wonderful people. And you know what? We're going to start by looking forward to this week. And this is the time that we love every week. We need you guys involved in this. And some of the predictions last week, we had some people say 1-1-1. And, you know, we ended up going 1-0-2 last week. But that's all right, Jesse. We got 4 points out of it. But looking towards this week, it's a pretty tough schedule. I mean, we got the LA Kings, who are, I think, 7-6-2 or 7-6-3, something like that. They're okay. They're middle of the pack in the West. But the Dallas Stars and Boston Bruins are two teams that are kind of forces. And you can see, like, the Boston Bruins are 5th in the Eastern Conference right now, only 2 points behind Montreal, though they have played 2 more games, so, you know, whatever. 10-7, only a 588 points percentage versus our 733. But this is a tough schedule ahead, Jesse, and we need the chat here right now. What will the Habs record be for this week? I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to do the same thing as I said last week, Jesse, because I'm looking at every team right now, and there's not a single team where I say, I really don't think Montreal is going to win that game. I think Dallas will be tough. That's an incredible team. If we're going to take a loss, it's going to be to them, but I'm still optimistic. I think we go 2-1-0 this week, Jesse. I think we're getting, maybe we'll lose 1 in regulation, maybe we're due, but I think this is a big 2-win week, and if that's the case, you can very well see Montreal pushing for the sole possession atop of the conference very soon.
And there's reasons to be optimistic. I think that point streak is going to keep going. Again, we're on a 6-game point streak right now. There's going to be ups and downs, but the reason why I'm feeling very optimistic over this next streak, and I'd love to see like even 2-0-1, just keep that point streak going. That would be absolutely unreal here over this next stretch. The reason I'm feeling this way, Josh, was like, this was a massive statement game against Utah. And again, there's going to be ups and downs. You're going through the process kind of previously, even though we're still managing to find points. Which again is a huge caveat. Again, a huge cap in Montreal's, feather in Montreal's cap right now. The fact that they're finding a way to really do it, but then you play that statement game, and it was really just like a declaration of their dedication to the details of the game, which for me, like, if you're going to keep playing that way, you're just going to keep really getting rewarded here. I think is really the key. Of course, the power play is cooking. We're getting in the 5-on-5. That's a big aspect. We can just kind of keep that going with the power play. You have to feel very strong about the Montreal Canadiens. Like, no joke aside here, to again keep that point streak going. Like, if we can get this around 10 games, Josh, like, it starts to get very exciting for the Montreal Canadiens. Considering that we didn't have that strong start last year, what we can kind of do this year, it would be just absolutely incredible.
Well, I mean, already, like, we're doing so good, but you're so right. Like, can you imagine a 10-game team point streak? Like, we are one of the hottest teams in the league right now. Like, yeah, like the Ducks out west. We are. Like, it's nuts, right? And you're right. The slow start last year has gone by the wayside. And even in a game where our power play didn't really click against Utah, we still smoked them 6-2. That was a statement game. And Marty even said that was the best third period they played all year. And to know that the Habs can play at that level every single night, really, if they want to. Not to mention the fact that Nick Suzuki it looks like he's not at full health. He took another treatment day today. That's his second in a row. The dude never usually misses practice. He's still probably laboring from that blocked shot he had. I think it was against Philly and Travis Konechny. But right now, this team is rolling. They're clicking. And, there's a lot of reasons for that. And I think we'll dive into some of those in a little bit. But you're right, Jesse. The 5v5 play, I think, has been so good for so many lines. Again, that Gallagher, Dach, Bolduc line has been really solid 5v5, but overall, this team is clicking. But we've got to look at some of the predictions here in chat. We got 2-1-0, 1-1-1. We got someone else saying 4 points this week. Someone saying the Stars have been looking like they have blown coverage issues as of late. True, but they're also so lethal on the offensive side of the puck that, I can't, Heiskanen's so good, and they have, obviously, Wyatt Johnson, they have Mikko Rantanen, they have Rupe Hintz, they have so much good talent, it's hard to count them out. But looks like 3 wins to me, says channel member Gary Bisson. Hackdog, 4 points at a minimum should be the lowest expectation. And we'll end the poll there. The poll for 0 wins, 1 win, 2 win, or 3 wins this week. 62% of people said 2 wins, 31% said 3 wins, Jesse. 93% of the people who voted said we're getting at least 2 wins this week. And I think that just speaks to, again, how good, how much confidence is instilled in us now in the Habs play. This is not even the Carey Price era Habs. Any night Carey could steal us a game. But I feel like this team almost feels more complete. And it's I just have so much confidence in our guys to just get the job done and fight to the end of every game that I just refuse to count us out, even if we're down 3 goals, which we have come back from even very recently.
Absolutely. And again, can somebody please explain to me how the Boston Bruins are so good this year? Again, there is an unpredictable nature to sports, which is just obviously keeps things so fun from year to year, obviously seeing how things can change so quickly. Josh, but what I'm really waiting for is our next game against the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to have to wait. It's not this week, not this Saturday night, next Saturday night. You have to feel like the Montreal Canadiens have that circled on the schedule as well. Lost a game early on this year that a lot of them feel that they should have won. And again, I'm really just looking forward to this as a litmus test to really establish ourselves again as I know the Winnipeg Jets are playing good, but one of the better Canadian teams right now. I think that's going to be a really big one for the Montreal Canadiens, because we're going to see that change of what happened where we're looking like the better team early on the season, not getting the win. Where's the maturity going to be at? Are we going to show we're also the better team, also secure the W? Because if they can do that, Josh, I'm not just joking. It's not just being a Montreal Canadiens fan. They're not just going to win. They're going to win convincingly against the Toronto Maple Leafs if they keep playing just as they are right now.
And if the Leafs keep playing as they have last night, the deserve to win meter was, I think, 93.4% in Carolina's favor. It was 6.6. And I'm pretty sure the Leafs deserve to win meter last night was lower than the Oilers one was in their 9-1 loss. So anyway, the Leafs have their own problems to solve right now. And I know, of course, being without Chris Tanev, that was a brutal injury. But, still, there's some interesting stuff going on there. But, hey, look, that's okay. We love the positivity around this team right now. And like someone said, Hackdog, channel member said, like the video. Yeah, why not? We're at 43 likes. We got almost 250 people. Leave a like on this video if you're enjoying. And if you want the Habs to weaponize the cap space that we have coming up. And we're going to get into Line A, how he plays into this, what the Athletic said, and all that coming up later. Because this cap space is the single, I don't even want to say underrated tool that we have right now, because I think it's a very good tool and fans understand. But I think once we actually get there next season, we're going to be oh, wait, we have a serious weapon. But that's coming up later. And we talked a little bit about even strength and 5v5 you mentioned in particular. And there's one guy that has been so good at that this year, and that is Noah Dobson. And we wanted to dive into some stats. I saw a stat, I believe, floating around on Reddit that he led the team in 5v5 points, which is pretty crazy on its own. But I got to show you the context of his stats on a league-wide basis. Of course, so far, 11 points in 15 games. He's on pace for 60 points, Jesse. Playing 22 minutes a night. Just solid night in, night out. 25 years old. Bargain of a deal, if you ask me. 9.5 mil by 8 years. But if you look at all the D pairings in the NHL that have played at least 200 minutes together, there's 17 of them. Matheson and Dobson rank 7th in terms of expected goals percentage. The only ones above them, the Makar pairing, the Theodore McNabb pairing in Vegas, Bouchard Ekholm, Ekblad Forsling, Zubas Anderson is pretty good too, and Gavrikov Fox. These are kind of the who's who of the NHL defensemen. Matheson, Dobson, right among them. But if you sort by actual goals percentage, when they're on the ice versus the other team, when Matheson and Dobson are on the ice, the Habs score 70% of the goals. That is not expected. That is what happens. They lead all D pairings with at least 200 minutes together with 70% goal share. They're second in terms of actual goals for, where obviously the Kale Makar pairing here is higher, but Noah Dobson and Mike Matheson at 5v5 have been incredible. Dobson and Hudson tied for 5th among all defensemen for even strength points. Dobson right there and Hudson again are tied for 4th on the Habs in even strength points, only behind Caufield, Suzuki, and Newhook. Some of those, of course, overtime points, which are technically even strength. How good has it been, and how nice has it felt to have that bona fide top RD who is not only just like a power play merchant, like this dude is actually the even strength merchant, something which I think we knew he could do. He always kind of has been, but it's been even better than we thought.
Really multi-dimensional in the fact that he's contributing both 5v5 and on the second wing of the power play, really giving so much to the team right now. We're giving Noah Dobson the recognition that he deserves. He is loved in Montreal right now, and I'm happy that like this is the narrative early on. Like things are starting off a very good foot, and when you got a big deal with lots of term there, obviously this is a dream situation. But there's a reason why, like, this is so important to the Montreal Canadiens, like Noah Dobson's 5v5 production, because the power play's doing really good. Like, they're doing great. So if we can just continue doing that 5v5, the penalty kill also is doing well. Like 5v5 is the single most important thing to really secure. It's obviously the most fundamental part of the game. It's how most of the game is playing as well. Just again, showing Noah Dobson's overall effect. And there's a big reason for this as well. If we're looking up at the stat card, he ranked near the top, if we're looking at the shot totals for the Montreal Canadiens, in terms of shot totals, Noah Dobson's among the top there with 21 shots at 5v5. And again, like that's a big thing for the Montreal Canadiens is like more shots, is this going to equal more points? And like we need to get a little bit more volume. So again, one thing we know about Noah Dobson, whether that's on the power play 5v5, is he's going to let her rip from the point, right? And that's a really great option that he's providing, especially for a team where I love how we're going. Like, we're not always getting the great shot totals, but we're getting great opportunities. I still like to see a little bit sprinkling that volume in there, just getting pucks to the net, traffic. We've seen a couple games where that's really been like just keeping it super simple like that. Like often the game, like what Noah Dobson provides. Let's just get the puck out of the zone really quickly. When we're in the offensive zone, we got a good chance to let her rip with body in front of the net. You can really count on Noah Dobson for that.
For sure. And like, yeah, I want to see him rip the puck from the point more. The dude is a cannon of a shot. He's still ripping some, but like, honestly, to me, his playmaking has been, look, I know what he brings, right? I watched lots of tape. I have heard of Noah Dobson before, but my gosh, the chemistry he's shown with so many players, the calmness in the offensive zone. I mean, I was hearing from Islanders fans how prone he was to turnovers at the blue line and making defensive miscues. Yeah, he's had a couple, but on the offensive end, like, he's just so smart. He makes the pass when it makes sense, and when the puck is on his stick, I just trust him to make incredible decisions. He can even go behind the net and feed it back out front. We saw him do that just recently. Like, everything Dobson has done has been incredible. And again, when you look at these even strength point leaders for all defensemen, 5th, tied with Lane Hudson. On the Habs, 4th among all skaters, not just defensemen, tied with Lane Hudson. And again, some of those Hudson are in overtime. Dobson is right up there as the leader in 5v5 points. And it's like, and then, expected goal percentage. Yeah, not just the best of all high volume D pairings. So it's really incredible. Like everything you said and everything the fans have been saying about Noah Dobson, minus the Isles ones. It's like, I've seen this, even some of them say, oh yeah, it's going to be known as the Emil Heineman heist. Yeah, that's where you're wrong. It's been incredible. And I'm just going to take a look here in the chat here. Dobson brought Matheson back to life. And I wanted to just touch on that briefly before we move on. And I'll get to some other messages in chat in a second. But here's the thing. Mike Matheson's season so far, again, I know we talk about how Noah Dobson in the vacuum's been so good, but I think Matheson has brought out the best in Dobson, and Dobson's brought out the best in Matheson, and I feel like we can't clue up a Dobson section without saying how well these guys have worked together and how well Matheson's been doing. And remember, we TSN's early award voting, Jesse, had Matheson as a finalist for the Norris. I don't know if that'll be sustainable. My gosh, what a turnaround this has been. 25 minutes a night.
And again, we're just branching out here. Like, just as the offense got deeper in the additions, naturally, of Demidov, Kapanen, a lot of the young players coming into the lineup there, so too, and that's obviously benefited a lot of players like Newhook. We're seeing breakthroughs. I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn to Matheson and what we're seeing, like players that we had. Now we're just seeing like even the best versions of them and so many of what just helps the team the most. Again, speaking to like the selfless nature of Mike Matheson. And again, we're going to give him love. If things aren't going the best, we have a responsibility to kind of call it as we see it. Things are going really good. Like we got endless praise right now for Mike Matheson. Again, like that added just depth, both on the offense and the defense. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? Like they're feeding so dependent on each other. And we're just seeing how those additions obviously just having huge impacts on the team is what was needed. And to Martin St. Louis' credit, like he's already always known this. He just said it's like about having the right people in the right chairs. And it's kind of important. Like you're building the foundation. It was so important to like get the first line right. And then kind of maybe start winning some hockey games. And you start getting some depth. And now it's at this point now we start adding the depth. And then it starts complementing what you have already. So again, the chemistry has been very carefully calculated. The analytics have been scouted relentlessly going into a lot of these decisions. And we're definitely just seeing the fruit of that right now.
And I want to know what kind of stuff went on behind the scenes, because I'm sure like they did stuff like this, right? When we were talking Matheson, Dobson, I think everyone was kind of like, oh boy, how's that going to work? Two guys who are prone to turnovers. But like you said, I'm sure there was some analytical analyses done on whether that would work or not, and just some testing with them before. And it's like, you know, again, I feel like now, like I'm just confident in whatever the Habs are doing. Like it's seriously incredible how it's worked out so far. And I know it's just going to keep ballooning in the future to some more big things. And we'll talk about some in a second. But I first want to shout out Doug Saylor, who re-upped for 17 months in a row. Doug, one of our biggest supporters from day one. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and meet you through these Zoom calls throughout throughout a year and a half, really now. Rocket Richard for 17 months. Incredible. I have to say, Boston always plays us tough, but definitely all 3 games are winnable. And I tend to agree, Jesse. So good to see so many familiar faces here all year long. And yeah, 17 months. That's a long, long time.
It is so much. And thank you so much for your support, Doug. It's many fans of the channel as well as your support as well. You know, we know, like Doug, many of you are just so kind, so knowledgeable of the game, have so many great stories to share. That's what we love, particularly about the lives, and we can kind of interact and just chat a little bit more. So again, you know, just thank you guys so much for the support. We're obviously climbing up to 24,000 really quickly, and we just, you know, appreciate everything you guys are doing to help us get there as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And, you know, I do see a lot of questions here in chat, too, about what's brewing. People just joining the stream. Now, we told you what was brewing right at the start of the stream, so if you want to rewind, you can go back and see. But I'll tell you now, if you're just joining now, there's a big thing about the Habs cap space coming up, and The Athletic just posted a great article. It's linked in the description if you want to go. But if you want to get a little spoiler as to what we're talking about, but we keep you in suspense, right? We got to see what's coming up next. But with Patrick Laine and with the cap space that's opening up, more than anyone would have expected, and there's a lot of praise getting thrown the Habs way. But again, the final thing before we get to that, Jesse, is something more pressing right now. And I'm actually seeing some chats right now. Is Veleno gone yet? Veleno seems to be invisible. Veleno for a new washer dryer. That's made me a bit harsh. But let's get into it, right?
Come on, chat.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on. He's like, he lays his body on the line and he hustles. He's just not getting the production. I mean, look.
0 points.
Yeah.
0 points.
Right. 0 points. -5, mind you, as well. So it's like, anyway.
Yeah.
But Joe Veleno has been a bit controversial. Hello, Martin Kindler. Hello, you fantastic Habs fans. Hello, channel member. But Joe Veleno has been a point of contention. And you maybe saw David Kampf in the thumbnail. And we're going to get to that in a second, because Chris Johnston is the one that actually mentioned Montreal in the same sentence as Kampf. And I cannot believe it. Anyway, that's in a moment. But the first things first, Jesse, I know we kind of each have our thoughts on Veleno, but I know a lot of fans are disappointed in his production right now. And I mean, I get it. He doesn't really look to make a huge impact when he's on the ice, but he's kind of just filling in because Laine is not healthy. But I mean, how have you felt about Veleno's production? Do you see a world where maybe like he draws out of the lineup sometime soon?
I do, like, and there's a lot to like, the potential's there, and you see, but it's kind of been very kind of representative of NHL career where it's like the talent's there, high pick, but it's like we're just not converting at the right times. And it's unfortunate because it seems like he's getting a great opportunity here in Montreal. It's hard to say if he's going to get a better one. So, I mean, this has huge implications for his career here. But you have to feel like all three, like the top 3 lines for the Montreal Canadiens are doing great. We maybe just want to add a little bit more scoring. And like we've shown, like Martin St. Louis in terms of his decision making for goalies and different things, like we're looking to be competitive. He will make the hard decisions if he needs to. So I think we're totally right in bringing this up. Obviously, the chats thinking the same thing here as well, right? It's been a little bit of a discussion here of late. Obviously, the play here of Veleno is maybe wanting to bring into question whether we should bring up somebody from Laval, somebody like a Laurent Dauphin, who's got 14 points in 12 games. People are also talking about Jared Davidson, who's gotten 11 points in 12 games as well there, excuse me. So you have to feel like some options there are on the table right now. Like, we'd love to hear from the chat, like whether we think like we should bring somebody up, because we don't need to put Veleno on waivers, right? And that's why you have to feel like probably increases the chance of bringing somebody up due to the roster spots that we have available there. The question is, if that is the case, maybe who should that be?
Yeah, it's interesting. And there's a poll running right now. We got to see, vote now, because in just a couple minutes, we're going to end that poll and we're going to run another one off the back of it. But I think you're right, Jesse. I think it's fair that Joe Veleno's gotten some criticism, and I understand like the impact is not maybe what we want on the ice, but like I will say the dude works hard, right? And he wins some face-offs and he lays his body on the line to block shots. It's just the production's not following. But for a team that wants depth scoring right now, like Evans and Anderson are really not following very well, like in terms of point scoring. It's like you just want a little bit more, right? It's like he's not really bringing a ton of positive value. So right now, answer the poll before we end it. Should the Habs call someone up to replace Veleno? Because like you said, Jesse, we don't need to waive Veleno. Like, this is the thing. We don't need to risk losing him on waivers, whatever. We just have an extra roster spot. If you guys have noticed, like, we've been calling up and sending back down Del Gaizo just to fill that roster spot, right? When we're on the road, because we have an extra one available. So we could just theoretically call up a 13th forward and just play them some night and just have Joe Veleno sit in the press box. So we're going to end the poll there, and it's pretty decisive, and I kind of expected this, Jesse. Of all the people, 54 people who voted, 85% said yes, we should call someone up to replace Veleno, and now the question is who, right? And so when we look at the Laval Rocket, like you mentioned a couple of great names. Laurent Dauphin, the veteran, 30 years old, he's been a monster. He had a 4-goal game this year, right? Like, the dude's been a monster in the AHL for a while. He has NHL experience. You wonder if maybe a bottom feeder would claim him if he were sent back down on waivers. But, Jared Davidson's a name that's popping up a lot in the chat right now. But you can't bring up Dauphin. It's an AHL contract. Oh, that might be true, although I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that works. But either way, like, I think fans would still want Jared Davidson's the guy that a lot of people are saying. Sean Farrell is highly skilled, but Jesse, I know, like, Florian Xhekaj, even though he's off to a slower start with only 3 points in 12 games, bringing a physical edge to that fourth line is never a bad idea. I mean, are those the three guys that maybe we're thinking, or maybe even just between Davidson and Xhekaj? If that Dauphin stuff is, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know the ins and outs of AHL contracts, so if that's true, fine. But in terms of some of the young guys, like, I know Juan and Beck are always in the discussion, but do you maybe have a favorite here?
In terms of like development, obviously, like I'm just a believer, even though the points aren't showing up for Xhekaj, that if he was to come on this lineup, that he would just make things happen. Like, for me, he just had such a great preseason. For me, that, like, even though that production isn't there, I think playing with guys like Anderson as well as Evans, like, we need to remember, like, Josh Anderson scored like 20 goals in the NHL. Like, he's pretty good. Evans had some good point production. And the analytics, like, it also points as well to how the Habs fans are thinking us as well, that they would benefit a lot by a little bit of a switch up, because when they've tried other guys with Evans and Anderson, their production has went up. So I'm a big believer. Again, I think like Xhekaj, if we're looking to become a playoff team, I think that just brings a lot. But obviously Davidson's a guy that does the details right. It's going to help him a lot, and a big reason why I think Davidson's probably the most likely, even though I'm going off the board with Xhekaj. I think I'm just such a huge fan of him.
Fair.
Davidson's the most likely right now, just in terms of the production, but also just in terms of like the details to the game, which again is the mantra of the Montreal Canadiens. It's such a reason of why they're having success, and leads you to believe that not only he could come up, but maybe look to secure a future in the NHL. Like, this is very important for his life. Like, this, he's working for an opportunity like this, and this is a prime opportunity. You have to feel like it's a big part of his motivation right now in Laval. Again, good size, plays good defense, has that offensive touch as well. So I think very interesting to pay attention to. It's been a little bit of a longer road, but it's looking like he could be getting his chance sooner than later, and I think deservedly so, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, 9 goals in 12 games for Davidson, too, is like, I think he was tied for number one, or at least number one for a bit in the AHL in goals scored. And, I do love Florian Xhekaj as well. I just wonder, like, is he ready for that NHL game? Maybe, like, he could be one of those guys that just fits on a kind of a banger line, right? Like Evans and Anderson, he just works well there, even if he can't really drive play on his own at the AHL level. But then you have have the more sure fits in like Wah and Beck, who are just kind of like, maybe they're not perfect fits on that line, but we've seen them before. And like there are vets. Like I'm not sure again with the Dauphin and Belzile, not really sure how that would work with their contracts, if they can or not. Like they're just guys that's probably like lower risk, similar to the Del Gaizo thing. Instead of calling up someone like Adam Engstrom, it could fit the MO a little bit better, but I'm not convinced any of the, like, I'm not convinced bringing up like something even like a Belzile is worth replacing Veleno, you know? Like, is that really what we want to do? I think it should be a young guy who's hungry to get his chance, and we'll end the poll right there. I mean, we had, again, if the Dauphin stuff is true, not totally sure about that. We didn't include him in the poll. We got Wah, Beck, Florian, Xhekaj, and Davidson, and Xhekaj and Davidson dominated. Jesse, 85% of all votes went to the two of them, 58% saying Jared Davidson, though, and I think it's kind of fair. I mean, look, he's a left-hand shot, and he has a great scoring touch, and he likes to get into the dirty areas. He's worked hard his whole career. I mean, he was a great goal scorer for the Seattle Thunderbirds, and look, while Joe Veleno, of course, had a great junior career as well, like exceptional status, don't you forget, you know, it just hasn't worked right now. So there's a lot of options, but I think having a lot of options is really the beauty of it. And especially with so many young prospects in the next couple of years, like Michael Xhekaj, or even a couple of years, Alexander Zhirovsky, this is sort of a short-term issue for the Montreal Canadiens. And right now we're still winning games. So I don't mind if we're winning games with Veleno in the lineup. I don't think there's a need to bring him out, but I don't mind the conversation. But I want to shift gears to what Chris Johnston had to say, because if we're talking about filling in a role here, there's one name that he brought up, and he said David Kampf. And look, he's in the thumbnail, and I'll be honest, I was very surprised when I saw this. A team like the Canadiens, they don't have a left shot center on their roster. Anyway, you can't tell me they wouldn't use a player like him. He has attributes that a team like that would find appealing. And I don't know if this is just a fluff piece. Look, Chris Johnston is amazing at what he does. I very much like Chris Johnston. I just really disagree with this take, and I think that's fine. Like, I like him. I just really disagree with this take. I understand the value that Kampf theoretically brings, Jesse. He's a fantastic 200-foot player, definitely known more for his penalty-killing abilities and the defensive side of the puck, which is something that is very valuable, and being a good left-hand shot center who can win draws while being great defensively is valuable, and I understand why teams would want that. However, unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure he was just like fined or suspended for not reporting to a Marlies practice or game or something, and also he couldn't crack the Leafs and he passed through waivers, and it's like, I don't know, I don't understand this take, but again, like, it just goes to show, like, I think other teams maybe want to get some of Montreal's assets is what I'm starting to see here. Like, teams trying to get rid of their players to see what can Hughes give me. Like, I get the feeling, but like, even like, he's not even a guy I think I'd have over Joe Veleno, but I thought it was an interesting conversation point nonetheless.
Yeah, I like our depth guys definitely here right now. Again, you know, I think like the only reason with the chemistry being so good to bring in is really if you're bringing in like some serious like production to really add. That's the value that we need right now. Maybe a little bit of a vet presence, and that's really what we need. Again, like I feel like the Montreal Canadiens are going to be very strategic. Like as we're looking to get a trade deadline, that's what seems to be very exciting. We're going to get to this in just a moment, but it seems like very well poised. Like again, and what a transformation from just 1 year, as we could look to be picking up somebody, you know, from here. But again, like just to our point earlier with when we were doing the poll, is like expect to see within 3 to 5 games where the Habs are doing something to again address the depth to get a little bit more there. Once that starts cooking, then obviously it's going to lead that way to utilizing some potential cap space for the Montreal Canadiens some very strategic ways. I think, Josh, like in the very near future, because I mean, the team's given them every sort of reason to believe that they should do so.
Yeah, I'm excited about this cap stuff. And, you know, maybe one final note on Kampf is that he is Czech, and we did hear that thing that Czech players want to play in Montreal, so we're just making that little link. I don't know. There's a poll right now, and I think I'm just going to end it because it's so overwhelmingly no one want David Kampf. No, we agree. People voted fast in that one. I tend to agree. It's an interesting sentiment from Chris Johnston, but it just doesn't fit the bill. It's what someone as an outsider of the Montreal organization might feel like the Habs would want. But we know what our boys want. But Jesse, I want to piggyback off what you said with this cap space up. But before we go on, we got nearly 400 people here. We'd love to hit 100 likes on this stream. We're at 86. We're so close to 100 likes. So if just 14 of you 400 people could hit that like button, and if you like the video, the Habs will win at least 2 games this week. That's just how it goes. We got 3 tough games, and we're going to win 2 of them if you like the video. When you guys liked the stream last week, we did great. We got 4 points in a 3-game stretch. We came back in some games. Like, that's thanks to you guys and you guys only. So it's really like, it's beneficial if you like the stream. Thank you for me. We already passed 100. That was fast. Thank you. But let's move on to the final thing. And this is the thing that's been brewing. it's something that like has been on the back burner, right? It's something that's not as immediately evident to the eyes. It's not a Cole Caufield snipe. It's not a Juraj Slafkovsky winning a puck battle. That's probably a bad example. It's not an Ivan Demidov dangle, right? It's not an Alex Newhook filthy goal. Do I still have that goal? Well, I have Nick Suzuki's goal. That's good enough. It's not a goal. It's something that is harder to see. You don't see those immediate results, but it's something that's been working in the background. And The Athletic recently talked about the financial situation of a bunch of teams. And when they got to the Montreal Canadiens, this article is linked in the description. Please go check it out, by the way. Montreal Canadiens, inefficient contracts expiring, it's just line A, dead cap reduction none, projected cap space $27.9 million, 16 players signed, and there's more text than this. I won't give all of it, because, you know, I'd like you guys to go give credit to the original article, but across the league, agents I've talked to keep raving about how excellent the Habs cap situation is. And before we dive into it, I want to thank Alex, who's coming back in with the Snipe Selly tier of channel membership. Always great to see Alex here in the chat. For Ikram, at For Ikram. That's great. But Jesse, before we dive into the actual cap table, I mean, like, this is just something that, again, unless you're looking at it a lot, you almost just forget is happening in the background for a team that's already so young and has already just coming off a playoff appearance. It's crazy.
It's like a perfect storm, Josh, but like in a good way, like a perfect sale right now for the Montreal Canadiens. It's like an amazing cap situation right now, like really just a confluence of so many great things coming together for the Montreal Canadiens, where they have like right now, like all these, their core, which is so fundamental, getting like that cost certainty over time, which how like fun, like key was that with this cap going up so quickly, like how happy is Kent Hughes, like he saw this coming. We need to highlight that in all this situation. Like they saw what was going to coming ahead of time, like to be able to do that and secure that, I think was just next level cookery from Kent Hughes here. But then you got like this situation of like, there is a couple expiring deals, and yeah, some guys we liked there, but they're going to be replaced by obviously the depth on the team, those entry level contracts, think those Zabrowskis, those Xhekajes, which aren't nothing either. It's not like we're going to get like an influx of talent as this continues on. And that also means for like depth pieces. Also, I think for like third and fourth line, I think, you know, Florian Xhekaj coming to his own, Davidson, I mean, you know, Beck, etc. from there. So this really opens some space though, with a lot of that money coming off the books. That being said, for Kent Hughes to do a couple strategic plays, and I think like Kent Hughes is going to realize the value. Like he doesn't need to like carpet bomb this. Like it's going to be like a couple spots, do it really good, and like invest in some key players. That's why I think like a couple big acquisitions would almost be the best way to take advantage of this cap space going on. You'd have to think maybe again that 2C does factor. That being said, I think like the way that Dach's playing right now, we're going to get into it, but like probably going to be getting a deal. I think he could still shine with this team. He like Kaiden, like just because we're getting a 2C, I think doesn't take away from them. They're doing great stuff right now. But again, for the Montreal Canadiens right now, I think it's just going to be so huge to right now get a platform where they continue to grow with players like Bolduc, who you have to feel like it's obviously getting a deal very shortly as well. Like it's always felt like he's been a Montreal Canadiens. So, you know, obviously going to be amazing for him the way he's playing right now. And we're going to have the space to be able to sign him as well.
Yeah, there's so many things we can do. And you're right, that 2C, like, you can almost afford, like, I know Kent has talked a lot about, you can afford to overpay in the right situations, right? And we're in a position with some draft capital, some good young prospects that we can kind of afford to do that now in this window. But again, when you see the money coming off, like the big one here is, like, yes, we do have to extend Zach Bolduc and Kirby Dach. These guys are both big important parts of this equation. Kirby Dach is finding his game as of late. I mean, fans have been loving what they're seeing from him. 5 points in his last 5 games, 56% on the dot in his last 5 games, which is really
That's
good.
huge.
Yeah, he's been unreal. And Zach Bolduc, after a really hot start, has cooled off recently. Of course, came off the PP1 in favor of Ivan Demidov. But the big guy here is Patrik Laine, right? Like, him coming off the books, that could make up Kirby Dach and Bolduc, depending on the structure of their deal. It wouldn't shock me if Bolduc got a little bridge deal. But again, like, you never really know, because with the way that our team is structured, with these team-friendly deals, like Lane Hutson, Suzuki, Caufield, Slaf, there's kind of that ceiling. Like, you wonder how much Dach or Bolduc would even get if it was a long-term deal. Would they be okay with like 5 or 6 million? That can end up really paying off a couple years down the line. And so with Laine coming off the books, now I'm actually going to take a second here and pause. I'm going to maybe make a poll for this. Do you think there's any world we bring back Laine? And I think it's premature to talk about this because he is hurt. But we probably won't really be able to trade him before the deadline because there'll be such a small sample size. We're not even sure if he'll be okay to go for the Olympics. Like, we won't really have much of a sample before deadline. I don't know if teams want to take that risk. They might just say, well, let's just wait. Why would we give something for him when we can just get him in free agency, right? I don't know, Jesse, do you think there's a world we ever bring him back? And if so, like, if we do, I bet you it won't be for much money. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, but, like, that is the big cog in this whole equation. If Laine's money fully comes off the books, and then we can use that to bring back Dach, bring back Bolduc, bring back Matheson, which is another extension-eligible player, and then still have lots of leftover money to go spend elsewhere to shore up some of those major question marks like the 2C, like you mentioned earlier.
Patrik Laine won't be resigned by the Montreal Canadiens. Mike Matheson will. And once you really do that with Matheson, given the depth, like, is there really that much more tinkering that we need to do for a decor? And I'd love for, obviously our viewers to let us know in like the chat, like, let's say Matheson does resign. Like, for me, it's like, that's a decor like you don't need to touch. Like with Reinbacher coming up, Engstrom, guys like that, like it's really perfect from there. So now it's like, okay, do we need to improve the bottom six for the Montreal Canadiens? I think, again, with like all the Davidsons, the Becks, and Florian Xhekaj, as we've said, like, I think we're good there with a lot of the depth. Again, so I would really look at that placeholder within our top six, where, again, I think it's going to be really important to, like, Kent Hughes, he's going to need to make a really big decision. Again, like, that could really be beneficial for the team, but also because it's probably going to be that big splash, it's just going to be that much more important for Kent Hughes to get right, considering he's probably going to be giving money and term here to a player. So obviously, Kent Hughes is going to do his research, but I think it's really important to go for that one. There's going to be a bigger risk, but I think there's just going to be that much of a bigger reward as well.
Yeah, it's always the game, right? And that's why GMs get paid what they do. Like, you're playing with fire here. Like, one bad decision can really handcuff you. And so the high risk, high reward, like, it's, we can bank on our future. Like, you said we have great bottom six level guys in Laval. But realistically, of all these guys we're talking about, how many will actually be like guys who will play for 6-7 years as a bottom six player? Statistically, most of them won't. And even guys like Juraj, Xhekaj, Fowler, Reinbacher, these guys feel like surefire NHLers. You really never know. So, banking on that to work out is also a risk in and of itself. But when you have a roster that is so well constructed with such a low cap hit with so many players, you can almost afford to take those bigger risks and not feel it hurt as bad, right? These other contracts like Kaprizov at $17 million. If the Wild don't construct a great team around him, that hurts. And they've been okay recently. Yes, for Wallstedt with a recent shutout, but like, you're handcuffed a bit with this money. And so to know where it needs to go and at what price and even at what term, that matters too, right? Like when we look into Dach and Bolduc, just as an example, like as our young guys are coming up, do we really want to have these guys on long 6, 7, 8 year deals? Are we even willing to do that? I think we would need to see a bigger sample from them first, or you just take the gamble like we did with Slafkovsky, like the Oilers did with Draisaitl. I'm not saying these guys are going to be at that level, but like, do you take that gamble off a smaller sample, try and ink them at a lower cap hit, right? I mean, I think what's so interesting about this, Jesse, is that we don't really know where Kent Hughes is going to go. We know he's calculated, but we know he's willing to take like risks on the guys that he likes. Like some of these extensions, like, if he think like we got Hudson at a cheaper price, we got Dobson at a discount price compared to what he would have got elsewhere. Like, I just wonder how far that goes and how much leverage even like the team and organization and camaraderie has over bringing these guys back long term and just running back a team with a ton of great team chemistry and who all have that one combined goal.
And there's also a lot of value not waiting too long to take advantage of that momentum from, let's just say it, like the gifts that you got of like discounts in Hudson. Suzuki's outperforming Caufield, outperforming Slaf, soon to outperform his contract as well. Like basically throughout the board right now, right? And you really, of course, they're young, so there is a little bit of time here as well. But at the same time, it's like, how long do you see that, basically the deck needs to be fixed and you don't fix it, right? Like he's got the materials, he's got the manpower, and he's basically just it's a matter of time before making it happen here. But really, again, to take advantage, just the sooner that we can get these players playing together, because we know like what the goal is for the Montreal Canadiens. Like it's not a secret anymore. Like Kent Hughes, by his construction, has made it very apparent that like we want to get like multiple cracks at a Stanley Cup. So if that's what your goals are and like that's how competitive you are and the type of kind of guys that you've attracted and brought to your roster, like you have to feel like you want to go for that big fish where it's like this act, we're just talking like these are numbers right now, but what it means is like Montreal has a huge opportunity to add somebody to that second line to play with Ivan Demidov and make a huge difference. Because I know Newhook is playing well, Kapanen, but I think maybe what's underrated in all this is how much is Demidov affecting this? Because I know Kapanen's good, and that's a little bit of a bold statement because Kapanen just does the details of the game. You could say he's going to thrive, he's going to play good hockey, and I'd agree. When you play that type of way, you will get rewarded. But we have to say that he is being benefited by the phenom of talent that is Ivan Demidov right now. And again, just not waiting too long to kind of get the most out of this player as well. I think it's a solid asset management for Kent Hughes and the Montreal Canadiens.
And bringing up our boy Ivan Demigod, that actually kind of throws a wrinkle into this whole thing as well, because we can't forget that guy needs an extension too. And we're seeing how he can elevate his line mates. Like you said, Kapanen is working well with him, but bringing in a better player with some of this freshly new opened up cap space is really not a bad idea. But we also have to consider his long-term extension and how much he'll get. We see Alex in chat saying Demidov will sign for around 11 to 12 million. I don't think that's crazy. I really don't. He can sign as soon as this upcoming summer. And, it depends how the rest of this season goes, of course. But, would you really risk signing a guy for 11, 12 million after just 1 year of NHL experience? Maybe for him you do, and that still turns into a bargain, right? It's less than Connor McDavid, so yeah. Anyway, but there's so many question marks with this team, and I think that's what just makes it so exciting, because we know all these big decisions are coming. We know this team is the youngest team in the NHL. We're already doing good, and Kent Hughes has a lot more big decisions to make. And, even from just the day-to-day, the Joe Veleno stuff we talked about, to managing who's actually a member of this team long-term. We look at this roster and we love all the camaraderie, but not everyone's going to get to stay. There's still a hole in the post-game handshake where Christian Dvorak once was. Guys that we see as, being, maybe not on the ice, but off the ice. Those guys were such good buddies. There are going to be people that leave, that get traded. And I think some big decisions are going to come for that. But I think that's what makes this team so exciting, Jesse, and why I'm just so hyped up for the future that Kent Hughes, Jeff Gorton, and even Jeff Molson are all brewing here together in Montreal.
Yeah, and there is a need for a 2C, but when Kapanen is playing the way that he is right now, when you got prospects popping off like they are, some of the best in their respective development leagues right now, it all kind of lessens that a little bit more. Kirby Dach is a big factor in all this. Again, it's it's not that the Montreal Canadiens don't need to improve, but again, it factors hugely into this in terms of what you need to go and the amount of leverage, right? Because when you're trading negotiations, there's not this glaring hole when you're really playing well. Again, how this just helps Kent Hughes in so many ways. Again, we'd love to see, because we know the chemistry that Kirby Dach, and again, that's a big story with the Montreal Canadiens right now, and really him resurrecting his career right now. It's the chemistry's there off the ice, and that's so important. That's a huge part of this team. He fits in, but the fact that it's happening on the ice, that's what we want to see. And if we can have that dream situation where we know he fits in so well with the team, but if he can really provide again that effect that he can, I think it's just so huge. Where again, we have players these feel good stories where it kind of pans out. Again, this is a dream situation where he can really earn his contract with the Montreal Canadiens, be part of this team in the future. I think just has us so excited because, again, this is a guy just at the beginning of his potential of what he can really do.
Yeah, there's so many guys who feel like that, right? Again, Newhook's 24, Dach's 24. We have so many prospects not in the league, like Swarovski, like Michael Hayes, like Jacob Fowler, all either teenagers or in their early 20s. Demidov's still a teenager. Hudson's 21, 22. And even Caufield is 25? Everyone is. Dobson is 25. Our number one right shot defenseman is 25. This team is just so poised to do something incredible for the future. I see so many people talking about Swarovski even there. I think this newer atmosphere around the Habs says Zelassim, I think, for a comfortable environment is helping wanting to make players want to stay. And I agree. And some people saying, feel like Demi's going to be a 3-year extension of 7.5 to 8, then a big deal. Look, I wouldn't be mad. I mean, look, if he wants to maximize his money, I can't blame him. But you also wonder, someone else said there in the chat, he's probably going to get 8 by 10, maybe 8 by 9 because of the culture, says Gerald. Plus, you're buying RFA years. There's so many questions, but I don't know. It's just exciting. It's really exciting. And you know what? It's incredible that we get to talk about this team every day, Jesse. I think that's about it for today's stream. We've talked about so many things. Any final thoughts? Because I don't know. Every time we talk about the future of this team, even though the present is so good, the future somehow looks even better.
It's just so exciting. This season has just been a complete pleasure. Of course, we're excited for a huge game tomorrow against the LA Kings. You have to feel like the team is feeling great. The vibes are high. We're very excited. And there's a reason why we are as well kind of coming into this stretch here. So obviously big stretch of hockey here coming up for the Montreal Canadiens. Couldn't be more excited to cover it. You guys know where to come to for your daily coverage every single day.
That's it. I saw someone say, Habs Relics, I've been watching Veleno. He may be better than Demidov. I said, whoa, oops, Jurovsky. Yeah, that's a mistake. That's a big one. Sorry, I actually do really like Joe Veleno. I just agree that I don't think he's really fitting right now. I'd like to see a different look. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. Reminder though, for those of you who came late, these streams are now at 5:45 p.m. Eastern. So mark your calendars. If you are used to the 6:15, there's still people coming in late all this time. Just make sure you mark it or turn on notifications by clicking that bell. While you're down there, hit the subscribe button. We're one sub away from 23,640. That would be a sweet number to hit before we ended off the day. Final comments from Alex. Hughes won't attempt to bridge to meet up. He'll try to get him signed long term. I completely agree. Great job, says Bake Apple. 6:45 Dominican time, says Rays. Well, that's right. Well, 7:15 p.m. here in Newfoundland. That's it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And like Jesse said, this is the spot to get all the latest Habs news every single day, before games, after games, all that stuff. We got your back. If you click that subscribe button, hit that bell. I'm Josh Gosse, my coach, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you tomorrow night after the game. We'll see y'all in the next one.